Welcome to my podcast, Today's Dream, Tomorrow's Reality. My name is Vickie Poole. I'm a master transformational coach and hypnotist specializing in habit change. And this podcast is sponsored by the Enlightened Peach. And it's all about embracing our mosaic life. Well, now some of you may ask, what is a mosaic life anyway? Well, it's recognizing that all the pieces of our life, the good, the bad, the indifferent, they've all come together to make us who we are. You change any one thing, and we are different. With that in mind, I invite you to embrace your perceived imperfections and celebrate who you are. This podcast is unedited and raw, just like life. And I'm your host, and I have a special guest that I'll introduce in just a moment. But before I do, I would love to ask you to do me a solid, and that is to like, subscribe, and share, and leave a comment if you're so led. But at least like, subscribe, and share. So now let's get started. So this lovely lady is Natalie Filler. I had to look because it's not up there. So I had to look, make sure I was getting it right. And I really don't know anything about Natalie, except that we have a friend in common, Stacy Lauren, she's my mentor, and I love her dearly. I was in San Diego for her TED Talk. And so I can't wait to hear how you know Stacy and all about your life. So just go ahead and tell everybody just a little bit about you, if you don't mind.
Sure. Hi, I'm Natalie Filler. I'm 49 years old. I live in San Diego, California. I'm a hairstylist. I've been doing hair for 30 years. And I met Stacy at a stand-up comedy class that I'm currently
Ooh,
taking. She's taking it as well right now.
okay, beautiful, beautiful. And we do have a lot in common. Did she tell you?
Yeah, she told me you're a hairstylist.
Yes, yes, for over 30 years.
Pretty good.
So yeah, really, really interesting. And she probably told me, but it's been a while since we talked about it, so I don't remember. So anyway, what do you do now?
I still do hair.
Okay.
I'm also a empty nester, so I was a single mom and my son's 26. So currently I'm in that stage of, oh, this is about me now. It's not, and who's guiding me? It's like you work to support your family, and I'm a single woman, post single mom, empty nester, about to be 50. So what do I do now? Try to fill my life with things to do and figure out what I do now.
Okay. So what do you like to do besides hair
Well,
and
this is
comedy
what
clubs? I mean, comedy classes.
you know. I took I'm taking that stand-up comedy class because I've always wanted to be able to public speak
Hmm.
and considered Toastmasters, but realized like that seems very like you have to be disciplined, you have to do research and
Stiffy.
stiffy. I'm like, no, everybody likes to laugh. Let's try the laugh side. So that's what got me into stand-up comedy. I'm but I did already have to stand up in front of a crowd and speak. And it's like one of those very invigorating slash very petrifying experiences. But when you're done,
Mhm.
you're like, oh, I think I want to try it again.
It's kind of like the fear of the roller coaster. And then when you get off, it's like, oh, let's do it one more time. Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it. And I helped Stacy, because I'm a transformational coach and a hypnotist and a podcaster and a hairstylist. So I helped Stacy with hypnosis before she did her TED Talk. And then there's another lady in our group, Julie, that just did her TED Talk, and I worked with her ahead of time too. And I've helped people that were keynote speakers that couldn't go to networking events and talk to people without breaking out in a dead sweat because it wasn't rehearsed, right? So I've helped a lot of people with all that angst that comes up and that fear that in the moment. But one of the things that I tell them, and you might already be doing this, is that if you can just switch what you call it, because the actual fear that you feel before you start to speak or go on stage or anything like that, there's a response in your body to it, right? It can be, the butterflies, the sweat, the palm sweating, and all of that stuff. But if you're in a place where you get overly excited about something, you can have that sweat, you can have the butterflies that it doesn't feel like as much butterflies. You call it something else, but it's butterflies in the stomach, the sweaty palms. You can get all the same responses. And so if you just change and call it, I'm excited about stepping out on stage, or I'm excited about doing this, then your brain connects with it on a positive level. Even though it's the same feel in your body, just
Mhm.
calling it excitement, your body says, yes, yes. But if you call it fear, then your body's trying to protect you and it wants you to feel worse and worse and worse so that you don't go on the stage. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I said, you might already be doing that, but that's the one thing that I tell everybody that is might have a little bit of anxiety about stepping out or anything like that, that it usually helps them in some way.
hmm No, it absolutely makes sense. And that's actually been the running theme of my life currently
Hmm.
in trying to kind of open up and broaden to see what other things I'm interested in. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, instead of saying, "Oh, I don't think I can," it's like, "Well, let's try something then. Let's try it.
Oh,
Let's
I
get excited
like it.
about living
Yeah. Yeah.
and, and experiencing things."
Yeah, yeah. So, see, I am a little bit older than you. I have two adult children, but one of my children lives with me right now. We are roommates. She's 30. And so I don't really have an empty nester thing. Now, she's left a few times and come back. So I have the empty nester, and I feel like, oh, I wish she was here. And then I start feeling like, oh, yeah, I like this. And then she comes back. So then
Mm,
it's like, then I have to get adjusted, and then I'm all good with it. So, who knows? But I haven't really had that really deep empty nester feel. I had a friend that when her son left to go to college, she cried every day for a month.
mm,
And it was like, wow, I don't get that. But then when my daughter left, I didn't cry every day, but then I kept trying to busy myself with something so I didn't feel the loneliness of suddenly being at home all by myself.
mm. Yeah, my son went away to college, so I had that like the first round.
Hmm.
Came back, and then he got a job and moved out. So that was like, okay, round two. And
Yeah.
then
Oh, so you feel me.
yes, and then he came home again,
Uh-huh.
saved money to travel, and then he traveled for a year. He went backpacking around the world,
Oh,
and
nice.
again. And I was like, okay. So then I started like, I was like, I guess this empty nest thing is not really a thing. It's just kind of like it's like a launch pad.
Yeah.
So now I get a launch pad,
And they
but
come back down.
yeah, he currently moved out of state, and I feel like this is it. This is it. This is the fly. Like now
Mm, you
taking
never
off.
know. My daughter's moved into different, she moved to Hawaii. I live in Georgia and she's moved to Portland, she's moved to Denver, and she's moved to Hawaii. So
Yeah.
she's been different places, but she stays gone for a while. And then when she's ready, she comes back. And I guess it's kind of comforting in a way to know that they feel like they have this safe place to land, right?
Yes.
Doesn't that
Yes.
feel that way to you?
It does to me because I did not have that growing up, and
Yeah.
so okay, I got your back. Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how young were you when you got married?
Oh, it's funny because part of my comedy shtick, I was like, I feel like I was married. It was so long ago that I was married, I forgot how long I was married. So I was like 21, and I had my
Okay.
son when I was 22, turned 23 the next day. So,
Okay. Okay. I got married on my 19th birthday. And I didn't have my first child till I was 25. And I had this idea, at 19, you're just not that smart. And at 19, I thought, if we stay married for 5 years, then I can start having children because then it's safe. It's golden. We'll be together forever.
Mhm.
Famous last words, right?
Good try. Good
I know,
try.
I know. It's like, whoever told me anything that was even remotely like that? I don't remember anything. I just made it up, I guess. I have no
There
idea.
was a Disney movie that gave you that impression. You're like,
Probably.
I saw the princess. Sure, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. They kiss you when you're dead and you wake up and everything's rosy.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Ah,
got it. Yeah.
age.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I'm a little bit older than you. And so one of the things that I had after I got married was I was inundated with those old shows, sitcoms and everything, where the wife stayed home, she wore the apron, she cooked for everybody. It was like she didn't have a life other than her family. And
Mhm.
so I felt that, um, and my mom wasn't that way. She worked, my parents were entrepreneurs, but for whatever reason, it was like I saw it on TV. So I felt like that's the way a wife was supposed to be. So I was all the time trying to be everything for
Mhm.
everybody. And once we split up and everything, I thought, man, that was tough. And at the time I thought it was amazing. But once I was out of it, it was like, hmm. No, I don't ever want to do that like that again.
Mhm. Yeah, I I quickly became a single mom. Like I've been by the time my son was 8 months old, I was a single parent. So
Mm,
I was I had the uh I was a working single mom. I have been a working single mom. So
yeah.
that that ship sailed. I didn't have I well, I mean, of course, along the way, it would have been nice to be able to have more time at home and, enjoy like nurturing the home, etc.
Yeah.
But funny enough, like, because again, I'm 49, I'll be 50 in July. And I absolutely feel like this is my transformation year. And not
Mm,
just for like, oh yeah, I'm gonna turn 50, whatever, but like now that it is my turn to pick out or to design the life on my terms with
hmm
wisdom, of like realizing like, yeah, fantasy life and reality are different, but what's nurturing my soul, what
hmm
what feels good to do. And I'm setting up my life with a 5-year plan to be able to be that grandmother that it's almost like the mother I couldn't always be is the grandmother I want to be.
Ah, yeah.
So,
I see that. Yeah.
you
And
know,
when I said I had that to emulate, I emulated that for 5 years when I was married. But I still worked a full-time job. And that's why it felt like I was doing everything.
mm,
But we got split up when I was 8 months pregnant.
mm,
And that's why it was like bizarre to think that 5 years married and then suddenly everything's going to be golden. Didn't work out that way for me. But I will say one of the best things that men ever did for me was get me pregnant and leave.
oh, yeah,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
you
yeah.
you
I didn't know it at the time, but I did know later. I did. It was like it just this epiphany thing came about me. It was like that life was hard and I didn't even know it.
yeah, yeah. One child, you have one child or two
I have
children?
two, but I have two different dads.
Oh,
I married it the second time and had my daughter. So you got married and you very quickly ended up getting a divorce. So how long were you guys together before you got married?
year and a half, 2 years. Like
So see,
it
that's not the golden ticket either, then is it? Because I
no,
used to think if you date for this long, then,
no. I think it comes down to the person.
yeah,
I say this as I'm a single woman still. So I don't know. I don't have it figured out. Like I
yeah.
just, my whole goal in life, and maybe, yeah, my whole goal in life is to have life experiences and enjoy life.
hmm
And so
So do you get to travel?
I do. I just got back. I went to New Zealand for 2 weeks.
Oh, I'm so envious.
Yeah.
What was the best thing about that?
Oh, okay. I did this glowworm cave tour.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, the best thing about New Zealand in general was just I traveled by myself. I rented a car and I just hit the road driving around. And it's just the most magical. The country is beautiful. So just to be amongst nature and the rolling hills and the snow-capped mountains. And so that was just breathtaking and calming. I was like, I live in Southern California. It's a little hectic, it moves
Mm-hmm.
fast. I work like I need to afford to live in Southern California. So I don't have, it's like go, 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 go. So just to unwind and be amongst the sheep was just really my most magical moment. But I bungee jumped. I
Oh.
did that. And then I also went on this glowworm cave tour, which involved rappelling down about 35 feet
Okay.
to zip line,
Oh, nice.
to then jump in frigid water with my tube, to then splash and get to the next little hole tunnel that we went through. And it was like, I kind of, at that stage of my trip, it was like 12 days in. I went for 2 weeks and it was about 12 days in. And I wasn't, I was so far from people that I think I forgot how to socialize a little bit. So I decided to go on the 5 hour tour. I was like, I don't care what we're doing. It's 5 hours. I've got nothing but time. Let's go. So at every turn, I was like, what other surprises do you guys have up your sleeves? And they're like, you didn't read what we were doing. And I'm like,
Oh, that is too funny. I was just about to ask you if you had all that stuff planned before you left, so that's a no.
no,
So
nah.
what was your plan? Did you have anything in mind before you left to go? And why did you pick that area? Was it something you've always wanted to do? What?
Well, yeah, I actually grew up in Australia. I went to high school in Australia.
Oh,
Like both parents are passed away, but my mom was Australian and my dad was from the US. So
okay.
I, I got the opportunity to spend some of my childhood in Australia. And I was feeling a little homesick for Australia, but I'm not trying to go where I've been. And I
Yeah.
thought if I go to New Zealand, it's close enough, but far enough away. If family or friends want to meet me, they can. And also, it'll just kind of give me that warm Australian hug. New Zealand and Australia are not the same. And I knew that, but I
Hmm.
really know that now. So, and I just figured it would be easy. And it was great. It was great. So
Yeah.
that's why I chose it. But
Ah,
I
so
learned
have you
along the
got plans for the next place you're going to go?
Yeah, because I learned along the way, I identify as a traveler now. I'm like, that filled my soul like like I already knew it did, but just as a friendly reminder in life, like I want the world, I want to see what's out there. Like I don't, I drive to the same location for work and like no wonder my son traveled the world last year backpacking. It was like it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Yeah. So
great.
where did you say you're going to go next?
I think I want to go to Spain.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah.
cool. One of the places that I've wanted to go to and I have not is to Italy.
Mhm.
And my dream goal is to go there for 30 days
Mhm.
and be immersed for at least an entire month in the culture and just relax, and you're not rushing from place to place and you can just be.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing is that that's been a goal of mine for a very long time, but I don't really travel much. It was a big thing for me to go to San Diego for Stacy's TED Talk because I'm in Georgia. I was born in Georgia. I was actually the hospital that I was born in is about 30 minutes away from where I'm at. Now, I've lived in other places on Georgia. I lived in North Carolina for a little bit. And when I was a kid, we moved to Florida. But for the most part, I've always been here. And especially when I was younger, so I got married on my 19th birthday, and it never occurred to me that you could just pack up your stuff and go somewhere you'd never been before and have a good time and then come back. Never. And so as I've gotten older, it's like now I have a house, I have animals, and it's like, how can I? And I find excuses all the time. So I'm very in awe of you being able to travel like that and just enjoy.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I grew up the exact opposite, right? So traveling was just second nature. But
Hmm.
like with anything, it's a practice.
Yeah.
It's like if you've left your hometown just even for a day, that's all it is. It's just relocating yourself
Hmm.
and just knowing that you can figure things out if you need to. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of like you said in the beginning of turning the way you think about it. Instead of I'm afraid, I'm excited. It's like I'm comfortable living at home, or I'm open to see the world,
Yeah.
whatever, right? So it's just so
Hmm.
simple as turning the phrase so that you can, and then practice.
Yeah.
It's like you do it once and you're like, okay, that was okay. And then you do it again and you're like, oh, now I just know that this will, now I'm
Yeah.
comfortable. And I think it's like, it just, it doesn't get easier, but that's okay.
Right.
Get more comfortable with the uneasiness, or at
Yeah.
least, the,
Yeah. Well, it's one of the things that I admire so much about my daughter is her ability to do that. Like when she decided she was going to move to Denver, I think she was 20 or 21, and she just looked at me one day and she said, I think I'm going to go to Denver. And I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yeah, I'm going to move there." And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "When are you planning on doing that?" She said, "Next week." What? I said, "Do you know anybody there?" "No." And so she worked at a place in Georgia that was also in Denver. So she just transferred her job. She found roommates on Craigslist
mm,
and she moved there. And it was like such an awkward thing to me, because I haven't really done that. And then when she moved to Portland, it was the same thing. It's like, I think I'm going to move to Portland. I said, "You do realize that you can go visit places without moving, right?"
yeah.
She said, "No, that's all right." So she goes and she moves there, whole everything. And then she did the same thing when she moved to Hawaii. And I asked her one time, I said, "Doesn't it make you nervous? Because when she's gone, none of the times has she known exactly where she was going to be. She just went."
Mhm.
And that would just put this fear in me, this feeling, of uncertainty, you know. I'm one of those personalities that I like structure and I like things being a certain way, right? And so that just feels so far out of my comfort zone that I'm admire her ability to just, I think I'm really curious about this place. I'm going to go. But maybe the one of the reasons why she feels that she can do that is because she does have the safe place to come back to.
Mm.
I don't know, but it is not, it's beyond my comprehension.
Well, but also I just feel like, as a hairstylist, right, we hear
Mhm.
people tell us our fears, right? But there's so many, like, I'm so nervous right now doing what
Mhm.
you comfortably do. You
Right.
know, so it's like that. Like what you do is, this is brave. This is like, oh, how did you figure this out? I'm just all these like curiosities and questions, but yet here you are and you set this up and you just comfortably do this. And I think so everyone has their gifts, right? And
Right.
their space to feel the the space to feel that willingness to challenge.
Right. Right.
It could be physically relocating, it could be emotionally, whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm
But
emotionally relocating all the time,
me too, and physically. Actually, that's not true. I moved around so much growing up that when I knew I was going to be a single mom, although I have the itch to travel, I stayed steady. I was like, we're not moving. Like, I mean, my dad was in the Navy, so I
Yeah.
also
Yeah,
around
so
like,
that changes things too, because when you're used to that level of going different places for work and everything, it does change things. My
yeah.
parents, they probably lived about the most an hour away from where they grew up, So it's, just what I grew up knowing, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I think came to Stacy's attention when we were talking or when I met her was that I'm doing these, I'm calling it like the 5 things for living.
Mm-hmm.
And what that includes. So, because it's so easy to just be comfortable doing whatever it is you do, and
Mm-hmm.
people are like, I don't know how to, life events happen, things change, and they're like, I don't know how to, I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know what to think about. I don't know who I am. What am I interested in? I've, I told myself, since I am in that kind of like, although geographically I'm locked in what, well, not really. I'm going to move. Anyway, I'm making plans, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I am a renter now. I sold my house at the beginning of COVID, and I've been renting ever since because I don't know where I want to land.
ooh, that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm actually working on I have some property and I'm working on putting a home on one of my pieces of property to then
Mm-hmm.
eventually work on the other piece of property. But, that's going to be the wheel that helps me travel more and have flexibility as
Mm-hmm.
that I'm a hairstylist. So I can't work, I have to work from the salon. But yeah, so when I was about to turn 49, I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be 50 next year. Like, where did the time go? What happened?
Isn't
This
that
went so
crazy? Yeah.
fast. Not ready for
Mm-hmm.
this. And I thought, before I turn 50, I have to turn 49. It's kind of how math works. Like,
Yeah,
numbers
yeah.
out that way. So I came up with this idea to do 5 different things every month. And what that's done for me is it's kind of opened my eyes to things, opened my
Mm-hmm.
eyes to new things, and made life an adventure within my life, not being
Right.
like, oh yeah, it's great. You go to New Zealand and you run away and jump off a bridge and blah 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 and do all these cool things. But I want more fulfillment throughout my days and open to new hobbies, activities, etc. So I've categorized these as 5 different things, and every month I tick those boxes, and it's been great. I come up with things along the way, as well as people introduced ideas to me, and I friends join me for it or not, or go alone, whichever.
Yeah. So, what are your 5 things for November?
Well, I've categorized these things as a physical activity,
Okay.
a creative activity, an activity, which today podcast is an activity.
Okay. Yeah, tick.
Because I've never done this before. A give back or a volunteer activity, and then also a new food or restaurant. So,
Okay.
so far it's November. I did a mud run for the first time this last Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm still cleaning up after that. I'm going to go and do a cake decorating class this weekend.
Nice.
Um, I think I have a give back on the line. My son is going to be coming home for Thanksgiving, and he signed us up for the turkey trot, so that goes to charity. And then the new food I had after my mud run, and it was a mulita, which is a Mexican. It's like a quesadilla, but it's
Hmm.
not. And
Yeah.
I've never had that, and so it's little things like that.
Nice. I love
But
it. I love
yeah,
it.
it's been great.
Yeah. I might have to adopt some of that because it
Well, like I
sounds fun. Yeah.
it it just kind of opens up ideas, and it's
Yeah.
like I would have never thought to want to, like, otherwise I was just living, right? It's
Right.
like, oh, why don't I do enough, and I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that now. And I've started to kind of like engage on my Facebook page with it, to just like invite people to give me suggestions, and then I have people say, well, I did this now. So I'm getting more excited about the community that it's starting to create, and just hearing how people are thinking about things in ways that they wouldn't otherwise too. So I'm
Yeah.
super excited about it.
Yeah, well, I have a Facebook group. It's called Stand Up and Stand Out, and it's helping people to let go of those limiting beliefs and the fear of standing up and getting attention, whether that is on the stage or whether that is going to your child's school event and you have to speak up. whatever it is, I would love to invite you to come into my group and speak because I bet everybody in the group would love to hear about your 5 things.
I would love to do that. Thank you.
Yes. All right. So when we get finished with this, we're going to have to schedule that because that just sounds very exciting to me to share with everybody. And I don't do it in the same way that you do, and I'm not doing all the traveling, but I have I've tried to sign up for this improv class, but it was, I do the hair salon during the day and I do my coaching and my hypnosis and everything in the evening and my podcast. And so it seemed like it was a series of like 5 or 6 weeks, I can't remember. And then at the end you did a performance. But it was all in the evening that I was busy with something else. So I promised myself that I was going to keep looking at it and maybe I could catch it early enough that I could change my schedule to where I could do that.
Yeah.
Um, and then I love to draw and paint, but I've gone a long time without doing it. And so I have started doing a little more painting and actually embracing that part of me that for a long time I didn't do at all. And so those are the things right now. Plus, when I first started my podcast, I started it because this as a hairstylist, or I'm sure it's probably the same for you, but you know exactly when the people sit in your chair, you know how to speak to them just intuitively so that you can communicate and get along and make them feel comfortable and safe, right?
Yeah.
Well, you do that over and over and over again. I felt like I was losing my voice. I was adopting theirs and helping them be comfortable, but I wasn't really being me and I didn't know who I was anymore.
Mm.
And because I've grown up, my whole family are hairstylists. So I grew up very young getting into that space. So I tried to figure out how could I start finding my voice. And I don't know why I thought I could start a podcast. Then I don't know what people think about it because it's just me talking. I don't even have to produce it if I don't want to, and I don't have to look and see what people comment. I can just be me, right? Um, and so I labored on that for quite a long time because I didn't know how. And I hated tech. I felt like it made me feel stupid because I just couldn't seem to figure it out. And then I ran across Stacy and she was doing this podcast challenge. And I thought, well, what's the worst that could happen? I'll do this podcast challenge. And so I learned the podcasting and I asked her when I first started, I said, so I really want to have you as a guest on my podcast. And she said, well, when you get 20 episodes, then I'll become a guest. I said, okay. So, man, I started popping out those episodes. I did some for me. And then I started seeing people in groups and they would be saying something about their life. And I think, oh, that's a story I want to know. So then I would reach out and say, hey, would you like to come on my podcast and tell me your story? And so it very quickly I got 20 episodes. And when I reached out to Stacy and I told her, I said, okay, you can be on my podcast now. I've got 20 episodes. She said, what do you mean? And I said, you told me that I had to have 20 episodes. She said, I don't even remember saying that. It was probably a number I pulled out of the hat. So, yes, I will be on your podcast. But it was just funny. I had this goal, that I wanted her to come on my podcast. But I've had amazing people on my podcast with amazing stories. And over time, I've learned that I can have my voice and still have the ability to mirror people in a way that makes them feel comfortable behind the chair. It
Mm.
doesn't mean that I've lost me. It just means I have a skill that a lot of people don't have. And so I was able to see it as something different. Before, I felt that my ability to do that meant I didn't have me anymore. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Mm. Your ability to do it. Well, did you find that you were just so busy being available as well as giving?
Well, it wasn't so much that I was available or giving. It's like, when somebody sits in your chair, it's I can, or somebody sits in my chair, if I've never met them, I can ask them a few questions and I already know what's going to help them to feel more comfortable. What
Mhm.
type of language, mannerisms, the whole 9 yards, because I want them to feel comfortable where they're at.
Mhm.
Um, and not, come to realize that not everybody does that. That's why there's a lot of people that go from hairstylist to hairstylist to hairstylist, because not all of them do. It's like um, this is me, you sit in my chair, you adjust to me kind of thing. But that's not how I was taught.
Mhm.
And so in making that adjustment, to make them feel good, over time, I didn't know what made me feel good.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Well, yeah, when you're working with people and you are taking care of them,
Mm-hmm.
listening to what they need, yeah, you have to. I find that too, where it's like all day, it's about other people. It
Yeah.
is.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've never thought of it that way of like, well, what is it about me? I think to be really honest with you, in 30 year, like now that I'm at the 30-year marker, I feel like this amount of time is equivalent to potential burnout, right? Because I'm like, why am I so tired? But maybe it's to your point because I'm not fully nurturing the part of who I needed
Yeah.
on. Ooh, light bulb here.
Yeah. Because I
God,
will say, once I started my podcast and I felt like I could just speak to anybody, any old way, it's just a conversation, but it's still me. It all changed. Not that I couldn't connect with the people anymore, but I didn't feel like it was me mirroring them. It was me being me, and that they were just compatible people. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, my part of my job is to make people feel comfortable and safe for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like something that I've given focus to is like, and how do though I keep myself comfortable and safe as well. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it's a practice
Yeah. Yeah.
because if we're not we're if we're only giving, after a while it's like, where's the craft of hair involved in this, because when people feel good, that feels good to everybody, right?
Right. Right.
Like, when do you stop? I mean, where is it where it's everybody feels good? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny when I think about it, because over time, because I've been doing hair for a lot longer than 30 years. I say 30 because it just feels better. Um, and like I said, I started when I was way too young to be a hairstylist because my parents had a salon. And so I've grown up as with my parents entrepreneurs. I've grown up in that industry, and so it just feels second nature. And so I still love doing hair, but I really, really love doing the podcast. I really, really love doing my coaching and my hypnosis and nurturing the people in my groups. And it's like those things light me up much more than doing hair now. Because I feel like I'm evolving, and each new thing I learn to do just makes me feel brighter in this other area. Does that make sense?
Yes, for sure. Well, and
Yeah.
congratulations on that too, because I mean, when you have something that you've been doing for so long and that's been your main income source,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's like it's hard to step away from that when you know it
Yeah.
works. And then, but having 100 or leaning toward more fulfillment
Mm-hmm.
is I mean, you're kind of speaking to me because this is where I'm at this pivotal time
Yeah.
moment in life where it's like, how much longer can I do it like this? Is this fulfilling my heart, or am I just kind of working through this to get to the next thing? And
Yeah.
what is the next thing? And you know, I think it's relatable to you of just taking care of people or listening to people. It's just like natural. It is natural. It's what I want to
Mm-hmm.
do.
Yeah,
And
because I say I've been coaching people for all those years before I ever got a certification. I just didn't
yeah,
get paid
right.
extra for it.
You say that because I'm like, everyone's like, oh my God, I feel so good when I leave you. You tell me all the right things and this and that. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
okay, well,
let
there
me
you
add
go.
another $50 to your bill here, baby.
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like, because we do, I think as hairstylists, we don't just have one type of person.
Right.
We're crafting that covers the gamut. It's like, what do you do? Or what do you do? What do you do? It's like
Yeah.
all walks of life. And that's the coolest thing because you just kind of learn people in that.
Right. Yeah.
And then you refine that practice of like listening to them. And because you have spend enough, like for me, I do a lot of hair color. So we spend a lot of time
Yep.
together, and at
Yep.
that, like, not only am I delivering a product, I'm building. I just colored one of my longtime clients' hair. We made her dark, and she was like, I don't know," and I was like, because you asked for it. So, and I wouldn't have done it. But I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta like calm her. I know her, so I
Yeah.
knew change is hard and all the things. And it was like, how do I delicately parent somebody through this process?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Been there and done that for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
You're doing that, you're doing it under pressure in a sense, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I can't say you wanted it, you're gonna have to like it. Like that's work.
Well,
Like,
and the thing that happens too for me is, especially clients that I've had for a very long time, I know them too well to change them.
yep,
And it's like, I know you're not going to like this. Oh, but I want it. I want it. I know you're not going to like this. Oh, I want it. And it's like, oh my gosh. And I have, at one point, I refused because I had mistakenly done the change several times. And it was like, they always came back, oh, this is too dark, or this is too light, or this is too, whatever. So I
yeah,
remember this one girl, I told her, I said, I love you. And I understand that you think you want that, but I'm not going to do it for you because I know you're not going to like it. Well, she went somewhere else and
yeah,
had it done, and she came back crying. And I
yeah,
said, see, if I'd done it, you'd been crying too. I
yeah,
was not going to put myself through it. And
no,
I said, so let's see what we can figure out. I said, but from now on, when I tell you you're not going to like it, believe me.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I do. Go buy a new t-shirt. I don't know.
Yeah. It's funny because like I said, my whole family does hair. Well, my sister had a client that came in and she'd been highlighting her hair. So it was really light. She'd been highlighting it for a long time and she wanted to go dark. And my sister tried to talk her out of it. And she said, no, I want this change. And she showed her pictures and everything. So she did it. And she was kind of upset and she left and she came back and she said, she said, what I figured out. My sister said, what? And she said, I didn't want dark hair. I wanted a divorce.
Oh,
She
hey,
just
there's
wanted to
different.
change. It was like, so they ended up going back blonde little at a time, but it was really bizarre. I didn't want dark hair. I wanted a divorce.
Yeah, it's like painting the room. It's like some things you can change back just to
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
That.
Some things that you might go bald in the process, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's
perfect.
it's yeah, it's amazing. And you know what happens with me is like as I get closer to retirement age, the thing is and I love doing my coaching and my hypnosis and all these things. And so sometimes it feels like the salon is taking me away from these things. And so it's a very different feel, but I have clients that I've been doing for so long that they feel like more like friends than clients. And the thought of saying, I'm not going to be doing hair anymore feels like I'm letting them down. So I've been, hinting around a little bit that I am getting toward retirement age and things like that to kind of, so I won't be blindsiding them when I do decide to stop. But I've been doing it for so long, I wonder, how that's going to feel too.
Huh. So, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is all on video because I feel like this is definitely like You, like, because I'm totally at that phase where it's like, you know, and like I said, I'm making some personal moves, and so my clients were like, "Well, are you still going to be here? Are you still going to be here?" And it, at what point? Because if we're making everybody else happy, in our case as
Hmm.
hairstylists, that's not just one person.
Right.
That's up to 100 people
Yeah.
that we're
Yeah.
working out. It's a lot. It feels like a lot anyway. And so I've been finding myself kind of protecting myself with through that potential shift by just focusing more. It's like, how many hours are in the day? How much time can I add to do the things that also fill my heart, to be a slow transition,
Hmm.
so that when it happens, it's just so smooth and organic that it's not abrupt.
Yeah. Well,
So
I can't say I'm working less hours than I used to. And thanks to COVID, when we had to shift all of our schedules to where you couldn't have more than one person in the salon at a time and all that stuff, I still kept that because I thought if I was able to do it then and it worked, why do I want to drive myself crazy with back-to-back clients where I can't even breathe, right?
yeah,
So I've kept that. And then I have people every now and then will say, "You're not going to retire, are you?" And my answer is always, "Not today.
not today.
Not today."
Maybe tomorrow, not
Yeah,
today.
I don't know, but not today. And so it's just, but they're feeling it. Like I had a client earlier today, and she's um a highlight client, so I've got her for a long time with all the stuff. And so she's asking me about my podcast, and she's asking me about my coaching and my hypnosis and all these different things. And she said, "Wow, you stay so busy with that stuff. How do you have time to do hair?" And I said, "Well, right now it all works." That's all I said,
Yeah.
because it does right now. But I feel this more of a pull to the coaching and the hypnosis and the podcasting and all of those things.
So how long, can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
How long have you been doing the hypnosis stuff? Hypnotizing. What's the word?
Well, I've been a coach for about
Hypnotherapist.
7 years. I've been doing hypnosis for about, I lose track of time. You know how that is, but about 3 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. And
Yeah.
then your podcast and
The podcast has been about a year and a half or something like that.
so yeah, good for
Yeah.
you. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank
Really
you.
happy to hear this, and I'm excited for you, and I'm excited as like a fellow hairstylist, and then to see somebody pioneer a path. Like, I feel like my eyes are open to that right now in life as well. It's like, what are some options? What are some options? I don't know how to type, so
Well, you don't really have to know how to type, but you don't want to
anymore.
be a secretary anyway.
No.
Um, but it's funny because when I was in high school, I was always in art classes, so I never took typing or anything. So when I was in college, I paid people to type my papers for me,
Yeah.
because I couldn't type, or it would take me forever and there'd be so many mistakes. It was horrible. So when I was married to my second husband, I decided, you know what? I want to learn how to type so I can play on the keyboard and I can type. And so I went to the high school and took some night classes to learn how to type. And it was typing where you were playing a game. It was a
Yeah.
video game and you were
Uh-huh.
typing. I
Yeah.
did and what was really funny was the people that were there, because it was a night class, most of the people were typers. They were actually way past the game thing. They could type and they were just learning how to do the format for different things. And there I was over there just learning the main keys.
Yeah.
But it was great. So I can type now. I may not be really, really fast, but I can type.
Yeah. Congrats. Yeah.
That's
And
it.
I'm like, talk to text. I'm like, we've skipped that. It's okay. It's
Yeah,
irrelevant now.
yeah,
With my thumbs, we're good.
yeah. Well, at that point, there was no cell phones when I
Right?
was learning to type. So it was like,
Yeah.
I just wanted to learn. And one of the things that I do for me too is I stay abreast of technology and to a certain extent. And I've learned a lot more just in the past year than I ever knew before. And knew like using AI and all these things because I think when you become closed off to the things that are happening in the world, as far as, new technology, new things that are available, then that's when you get old,
Hmm.
and I don't care how old I am. I don't want to be old,
Same.
so I can see me still going to school, still learning, taking classes about all kinds of things at any age, so I just don't understand stopping and doing nothing.
Yeah. No, you're right. That's when if you're, I mean, it's like moving your body. If you don't move it, you lose it. It's just same for your mind, same for community. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean, technology moves so quickly now. It's like my
yeah.
like you don't even use 10% of what your phone can do. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. But I actually did sign up for uh your course. It's just starting.
Oh, the mining your acres of diamonds.
Yes. I
Oh, yay.
Yeah, and because I'm trying to create a Facebook page with my 5 things for living. Just
Yeah.
just that's a fun challenge for me, but I'm like, how come this is like not organic? I mean, I wasn't able to be in the class in the actual class when it was happening, but I'll
Well,
be able
there's
to
there's four more coming. So 4 more weeks and then go into the Mining Your Acres of Diamonds Facebook group. Have I sent you the invite already?
maybe so, but I
Okay. Well,
haven't.
I'll look and make sure. But in there, there's lots of stuff for you to utilize between when we have our meetings. And I'm going to be doing some visualization and hypnosis during this time too to
Oh,
to help.
good.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
gonna be
great.
good.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you're inspiring.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, you're inspiring too. So I'm definitely going to start looking at my 5 things. And so I can't wait till you get your group started so that I can be one of your first members.
Yeah, well, it started, but
Okay.
I've
Well,
got
you'll
eight.
have to send me the link.
I will. I think I've got 18 members right now.
Ooh, that's a good start. That's a good start. That's more than one.
It's true. Very true. Oh, Godspeed.
That's right. All right, so we're getting close to end of time. And not end of time, but the end of this time for this, right? We
Yeah,
might
yeah.
be at the end of time. I have no
Uh,
idea.
Not yet. I still have things to do.
I know, me too, me too. I don't want to give up. Um, but it's been a pleasure having you here, and I'm so excited to get to know you because we have so much in common and so much to share. So I would love to have you on again, but like I said, I definitely want to have you come into the group and promote your group.
Okay, great. Maybe by then I'll have 20 people. I'm
Ooh,
gonna invite some.
dreaming big.
Yeah. Mhm. Well, thank you, Vicki. It's been a pleasure for me as well. Like I said, this was an activity for the month of November, and it's my first time on a podcast. So
And you did amazing, I will say. So, congratulations for hitting that milestone. So, now you can go on any podcast and be amazing.
I'm ready.
Yep.
Bring it.
You're good. You're good. You're in the right group for that to happen. I'm telling you, there's a lot of podcasters in that group. And so, what I'm going to leave everybody with is the quote that I always leave everybody with, and it's the best way to predict the future is create it. And I still am not sure exactly who said that, but it stands true every single time I say it. So, you're creating your future right now. And I love it. I love it. I love it. So thank you again for being here. And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. And I will see you soon. Mwah.
Thanks.